Okay, good afternoon traders, and welcome to another TA update. This is the first one in a while, so I'm expecting my charts to be a bit of a mess. But here we are. Today is the 22nd of April, and it's just coming up to 3 p.m. here in the UK. And I hope you all had a nice Easter and a nice Easter break. I had a really wonderful holiday with my family, the first one in many years. So it was nice to have a break. But anyway, let's crack on and get straight back onto it. So we start here with the stock heat map, with the stock market heat map on the traditional finance. And you can see the great majority of it is in the red. I expect this is because of the announcement by Jay Powell from the Federal Reserve that the hike for the interest rates will be 50 basis points, which was kind of expected. So I'm not sure if the market's just overreacting a little bit. But I've been saying for ages that it was going to be 50 basis points as a hike in interest rates. So I'm not sure why the market felt like it had to price that in. I thought it was already priced in, but there we are. So everything is pretty much down or neutral, with a very few exceptions. And that is the case all over, even on Disney and McDonald's. So we're fucked to get a job elsewhere anyway. So McDonald's are not going to be taking anyone, and neither is Disney for the Mickey Mouse traders. So moving on. So this is the traditional finance. Let's have a look at the cryptocurrency finance, cryptocurrency markets. You can see that the great majority of it is neutral or red, with very few exceptions, with Binance and Luna, Matic, and a few more actually. Surprisingly, there's quite a few little relief bounces here, but the great majority of it, especially this morning, was in the red, and yesterday was quite a bit of a dump. Looking at the Deribit metrics for the expiry of the 29th, this is the options contracts for the 29th. There's only 1.8 billion, so it's nothing major. Not as much as the one last month, but anyway, it says that the max pain price should be around about 42k. This is basically the price at which most of the traders will lose money. I think this is a bit of a meme. It's becoming a bit of a meme as more and more people become aware of this and start quoting max pain, even though they don't really quite understand it. In my opinion, the important thing is that the historical volatility is a little bit up. And I'd like to see the volatility to come down a little bit in order for the prices to move up. So I think we've still got a little bit of downside to come. In terms of volume, it's decreasing a little bit. And, you know, the volume by expiration, I mean, the 29th is definitely the highest here because it's a monthly expiry. But you can see that it's just, you know, the great majority of it is decreasing. The historical volatility has moved up, even though it was decreasing as well. And there's not really much to say, but obviously on the 29th, it is possible that the price moves up closer to the max pain price, around about 42k. But anyway, let's do an analysis on the higher time frames. I better check actually that everything's working. Let me just check that the video is working. And let's have a look if the audio is working. Yeah, the audio is working too. So we are all good to go. So, yeah, sorry, I forgot to check that right at the beginning. I just want to double check because nothing worse than making a whole hour's video and then finding out that nothing was recorded. So, if you guys find any problems, please let me know here in the YouTube chat. Or if you've got any requests or if you want me to look at anything in particular, please do let me know. And I will try and have a look at it in between analysis. So anyway, let's start here. This is the higher time frame setup that I've got. Okay, so I'm looking at VWAPs on various time frames, and this particular one, we've got 4 charts here, and I've got on the top left here, I've got the daily chart with the yearly outlook on it, and you'll understand that in a minute. There's a yearly VWAP that I'll put on there now. On the right hand side here, I've got the 12-hour chart with a quarterly VWAPs in yellow. The yearly VWAPs here on the top left is in blue. On the bottom right, I've got a 4-hour chart with the monthly VWAP. And on the bottom left here, I've got the weekly VWAP on the 1-hour chart. Okay, I sometimes look at this on the 30-minute chart actually. So let's just have a quick look on the higher time frames, you can see here that basically on the higher time frames, if I just take, I'm looking at the top left. In fact, let me just make this bigger. Right, so let's just take the VWAPs off. You can see that we've got a range here, right? We've got a pretty good sort of like a parallel channel here that's been tapped twice on this end at the bottom, and it's been tapped 3 or 4 times at the top there. And you can see that the midline, the equilibrium if you like, had been taken, and then the price reached the other side of the range. It came here, it kind of hesitated a little bit, and then we got dumped below that midline. In the last sort of week or so, we tried to get back above it, and as you can see yesterday, we got right down to the midline there, to equilibrium again at around about $42,900, and we got very strong rejection there, which is quite telling really in terms of price action. So if I was to delete or to mute this parallel channel for a second and just put the VWAPs back on, you can see that what I've got here is the previous year's VWAP here, the 2021 VWAP, which is around about 45,500, which has perfect confluence with this low volume node here. The price couldn't even get to that, and we are indeed just now, this is why it's got a big rectangle there. It's basically just highlighting the close of 2021, right? We've been pretty much the whole of the year, just to recap, just trading below that 2021 VWAP, and even though we broke above it here, we could not find acceptance up there, and we got rejected, and we came back below again. So we are rotational inside of this year's VWAP, which is basically this blue line here that you can see across the screen, the squiggly line, and we are rotational inside of the value area high and the value area low, which I'm highlighting here. As you can see, I'll put a rectangle there just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So basically inside of there, right? And this is basically the standard deviation +1 and the -1 standard deviation down here. Okay, let's call it value area high and value area low, right? So right now we are obviously trading right below the VWAP, and we are rotational inside of this, right? So what that means is that there is a possibility that we get to this level here, but first of all we have to get above this $41,000 level, okay, which is the year VWAP. Okay, so if we can break above this, then I think we've got a strong chance of going up here. But for now we have been rejected, and it does look like it wants to reach lower and find buyers down here. So looking at around about $38,000. Okay, so that's the value area low right about here. Okay, so I'll do a little better, a more detailed description of these in just a second, but I just wanted to highlight the parameters of which we are rotating inside. Okay, so that's basically this level here, somewhere between what is it, $41,000 and $38,000. Okay, if I was to put the balance on, which is basically just some high volume and low volume imbalances, and I'm just gonna change that a little bit. You can basically see that from the right hand side, you can see here the volume profile is basically just highlighting, these rectangles are just highlighting high volume clusters. Okay, so these high volume clusters basically are rotation areas, and basically where we find balance, right? So you can see that the price could not get above this level here at $43,000. And we come and test the edge of this balance down here. Okay, so this is really the line in the sand here. Okay, in fact you could argue that the line in the sand is down here, so we could come all the way down here and then just rotate back up again, but that remains to be seen. At the moment it's showing weakness. All right, so if we find acceptance below 39,700, then I think we've got a strong possibility of coming a little bit lower, okay, down here to round about to the low 30s anyway. Okay, but that's looking too far ahead. If we however find acceptance up here and we get rejected, if we come all the way down here for instance and we get rejected there and find acceptance straight back inside of this blue rectangle here, which is above 40,000, then I think we've got a strong chance to break that yearly VWAP and go all the way to $45,000. But again, that remains to be seen. With the weekend coming up as well, today is Friday, so with the weekend coming up, it's going to be low volume, low liquidity, and perhaps a little bit more volatility. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a scam pump. But this is the low volume area here. In fact, I'm going to take the balance off and I'm just going to show the low volume areas here. And we are inside of a low volume area here, okay? So basically this is a make or break. If we break below this, then I think we've got a very strong chance to come all the way to 37,000. If we break above, and if we can hold this area here around about 39,700 as support, then I think we've got a very strong chance to move higher and perhaps visit as high as 45,000. Okay, this is not going to happen over the weekend. This is an outlook for basically the next week or so. But it's just to give you an idea of context of where we are in the markets regarding the higher time frames. Okay, so let's have a look at this in combination with the other charts. Okay, so you can see here clearly that the market has been trying to get inside of this quarterly view up here. I'm looking at the right hand side, so I'm going to make that bigger so you guys can see. So this was the previous quarter view up, right? Okay, so this is the line that determines the previous quarter. Okay, here in the middle, you can see this rectangle is basically determining where this whole area here, right? This whole area here was the previous quarter's view up. Okay, so that's highlighted here with a close. So this is the -1, this is the +1 standard deviation. This quarter's view up, okay, which is from the 1st of April, you can see that the price came up, broke above the previous quarter's view up, rallied all the way to this quarter's view up there, and it got rejected pretty strongly, as you can see highlighted here with this high volume candle here. And now we're kind of tethering on the edge here. We're kind of just holding that -1 standard deviation here, but it's testing it, and I do think that the market is looking for lower prices. Okay, and again, it's looking at around about 37,600, something like that. Okay, which is basically this standard deviation here. Okay, so the previous quarter's value area low. Okay, that's the previous quarter's value area high. We didn't even get to that because we got stopped here at this quarter's standard deviation view up, but it does look like it wants to come back lower. The only thing that can stop that is this low volume node here and the edge of the high volume cluster at around about 39,600. Okay, so we can mark that level there, 39,600, and see if we bounce there. Okay, it is possible, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's on the quarterly. It's looking like it wants to reach lower. On the daily, it's looking like it wants to reach lower. Now let's look at the monthly view app, which is the bottom right hand corner here, and you can see that there was a bit of confluence with the quarterly view app and the monthly view app here. Okay, so we rallied here from the bottom. We had a double bottom here. Okay, the market rallied. It's got stopped at that first standard deviation, right? And then we came back low. We tested this area, but swept the lows here. Okay, so these were the lows. We swept those equal lows here, and boom, the market rallied with high volume, which is these blue candles here that you can see. Where did it get stopped? Well, at first it got stopped on the previous month's view app, but then it rallied and it got stopped on this month's view app. Okay, and now, like I said, we got a massive rejection, and we're testing the value area low, so the low standard deviation of this month's view app. And as you can see, there's a few wicks there, which looks like somebody's buying here, but I think that the great majority of people, well, the sellers are more interested in looking at buyers way down here, around about 39,300 as well. And then there's the previous month's standard deviation here, which is looking at around about 37,600 again, right? So now you see the confluence here. So 37,600 round about here, and if you can look, when I've got all of the charts together, let me just organize this a little bit. Okay, and we've got all of the charts together. You can see here my crosshairs when I put them down at this value area low at the bottom right hand corner, 39,200. it's looking at this standard deviation. Okay, you can see where the price is. In fact, yeah, so I'm looking at the top right hand corner here. Sorry, the top right hand corner, you can see this level here, right? 37,600. It has confluence with the value area low here on the top left. Okay, and it also has a little bit of confluence with this level here, which is very, very close. So I think we're definitely looking for lower prices here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a dump over the weekend to around about 37,600 and then just see what happens there. I mean, it's very difficult to tell, but again, the only thing that can change the course of that is us finding acceptance above $41,000. Okay, if we can find acceptance above $41,000, that means that we are back above the yearly VWAP and also above this quarterly VWAP here. Okay, so then we've got a better chance to take the quarterly VWAP here. Right, so this was the previous quarter here. So we got a better chance to try this and then maybe even try $45,000. Okay, but for now it does look like the price wants to reach lower. So I hope this is not too confusing for you. I thought that I would leave this until after the holiday to show you the higher time frame VWAPs here, so that you can see things in context. If you need any help with this, please do ask. I'm happy to share my thoughts on this, and I'm happy to help you get this context and even give you access to these indicators. So DM me if you're interested in finding out more about this. But in the meantime, I'll just crack on with the TA update. Okay. So without wanting to complicate it too much, we are rotational between these two levels here. Okay. So that's I would say around about 37,600, something like that. Okay, and $44,000. At the moment, we've been rejected from the VWAP. So where are we? Let me just delete these brush here, so these brush marks. Okay, so at the moment, the yearly VWAP, which is this line here, is acting as resistance. Okay, break above this. This is the next target, and potentially even this one here, around about 45,000, which has confluence with a low volume area. All right, but we need to break above $41,000 in order to do that. If we continue to get rejected at 41,000, even if we test up like this, sweep the highs and come back low, that's a short, and we're looking at this level here, around about 38,000, and potentially even lower, around about 35,600 for for areas where I'd be interested in buying. Okay, I'm not interested in buying here in the middle. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere here, so I'm more interested in trading the extremes. Okay, so these are the areas of interest for me. 38,000, 37,600, something like that would be an interesting level. You can see also that we've got some equal lows here. We've got a poor low highlighted here that we'll see on the market profile on Exocharts in just a second. So I think we're on our way down here first and foremost. Okay, I'm not saying that this is the end, but that it's going to be bear market now or whatever. But I mean, if you look back at the last 3 months price action, you can see that it's pretty much just lower highs, lower lows. Okay, we had a little bit of a promising range here with some higher highs and higher lows. So let's just wait and see. Okay, it's obviously potentially it could still play out, right? Because this parallel channel has not had the bottom here tested. So if the price comes all the way down here and then it rallies from here, we're still kind of inside of this low, higher low parameter and higher highs here. Okay, so it depends on the time frame. We're looking at the daily time frame here, so obviously I'm giving you a sort of an overview, if you like. All right, so it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that we're definitely going to back to the 20s or whatever, but it is possible that we come and test these levels down here with this very strong rejection from the mid range here. We didn't have strength here. We couldn't find acceptance above the previous year's VWAP. We fell back inside the range, and now back inside the range, we couldn't even get above the halfway point, which is the equilibrium. Okay, so for me, this is telling me that the sellers are stronger and we're looking for buyers, and the buyers will be somewhere down here. Okay, so that's my analysis on Bitcoin for now. Let's have a look at Exocharts, and I'll start with the volume profile. Why not? Okay, so volume profile on the daily, you can see that the market rallied. We swept the lows here. Okay, and then the market rallied. It took out that naked point of control at around about 42,800, and we had that massive engulfing red candle of rejection here, back inside of this range here. Okay, which is basically balance, right? So you can see that the market was kind of like been ranging here for quite some time, and here we are now. We're back inside of that. So nothing more to say about that other than the fact that we've got a naked point of control sticking out like a sore thumb here, which is the anomaly that I can see at around about 35,600. That's too far to be looking at just yet, but who knows, right? I know that the market kind of like dumped as a result of the S&P dumping as well in the traditional finance, and again, all because of the Federal Reserve announcing the 50 basis points as an interest hike to tackle the inflation problem that they've got in the United States. So of course, Bitcoin is basically just a better alpha. So the ES is the alpha version of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is just a more volatile version of the ES, right, of the S&P futures. So it just follows it. It's just so clear. I could pull up a chart and show you in a bit, but maybe I'll save that for Monday and we'll have a look at that a little bit more in depth. But in the meantime, what I wanted to highlight here is that we've got I've got some pull lows here, right, and I've got some equal lows here, right? So if the market does decide to dump down and it gets below this area here, 39,500, you can see that we've got a low volume area here. So this is the high volume cluster that we'll be looking at, right? And if I was to do a straight line from these pull lows, you can see $37,000, okay? $37,000 is the level that you'd be looking for, all right? So if this kind of decides to dump here and finds acceptance inside of this high volume cluster, it's pretty much the same what I was showing you on the candlestick charts, right? If we find acceptance back inside of this range here, which is basically a high volume cluster, means that we will most likely come and test the low of this range here, okay? So we can see this here as a range, right? So that means 37,000 is on the cards, and then when down here, I wouldn't be surprised to see some consolidation like this, come down, take that naked point of control, and then rally up, okay? A little bit of relief. So that's what I'm expecting, but I mean, this is not going to happen over the weekend, I don't think. I think this is going to take a couple of weeks to play out. So again, I'm just giving you an overview. In the meantime, you can see that there's quite a little bit of consolidation there, which is basically this balance area. So if we enter this balance area, it's very likely that we're going to test both sides of it. So that's on the volume profile. That's the only anomalies that I can see here is those equal lows, and basically this naked point of control at 35,600. If we look at the market profile, I've drawn a balance area here in gray. You can see that here in the middle. That's basically all of these profiles merged together, okay, which basically they've got overlapping points of control and value areas. That's why I've merged them, and that gives me a balance area, okay? So obviously we found acceptance here inside of the gray rectangle. So we're somewhere halfway at the moment. We're kind of halfway there, and I think that we've got a very strong chance to come and test this $39,500 level, okay, which is basically the edge of this volume cluster here. All right, so basically, again, exactly the same thing that I was telling you on the volume profile, okay? So this area here, potentially even this one here, okay? You could say that this is a balance area, okay? So I'm looking basically at this here. This is a volume cluster. So if we break below this balance, right, if the price comes all the way down here, it could just come and take this point of control and get straight back above. This would be a good sign. That means we got rejected from this balance area, and we will continue to rotate inside of here, somewhere between $39,600 and $41,000. All right. However, if we find acceptance below in this rectangle here, okay, so if we find acceptance here and it comes back to test this balance area here, the rectangle, right, and gets rejected, then that's an entry for a short, and I'll be targeting much lower prices, round about 37,600. Okay, that's the trigger there, that's the signal. All right, so basically we want to see the price stay above here for the bulls, 39,500. okay, the price wants to kind of like stay above here, even if there's a little sweep of the lows, then go back higher to 41,000, etc. right? If however price gets below 39,400, right, and means that it cannot, and while testing the previous balance, which is this gray rectangle around about 39,600, if tests that and gets rejected straight back down, that's an entry for a short, and we'll be looking at these lower prices down here. Okay, so that's my view on it right now. Okay, I'm not really paying much attention to this point of control here, although like I said, we could just kind of take that and then rally up, but up to me, that's already inside of this high volume cluster, so I'm not interested in that unless we're going way lower down here. So I'm not going to be buying here because this is in the middle of nowhere. It's right in the middle of this balance. Okay, so for me, long scalps are around about 39,500, and I'm expecting a bounce to 41,000. However, if we fail that and we fail to reclaim it, that's a short signal, and I'll be targeting much lower prices, which basically around about here, 37,400, something like that. Okay, of course that we could actually just rally during the weekend, and if it does that, this here, which is a single print at $41,000 is the line in the sand. All right, so even if the market comes all the way back up to $41,000, right, and gets rejected, for me that's an entry for a short. And again, like I said, I'll be targeting first this area here, 39,500, and then potentially observing what the volume says there and going lower. Okay, so but I'll take more profits here at 39,500 and just see what happens. But if the price does, however, break above these single prints here, okay, and manages to confirm that this is indeed support, then 41,500 is the next level here, which is basically a naked point of control, and we could potentially see those higher prices that I was talking about at the beginning, which is around about $45,000. okay, which is basically round about here, this low volume node here. Okay, so again, the $41,000 level is key for that. All right, so that's basically, again, this level here, around about $41,000 is where the yearly VWAP is, round about here. Okay, at the moment we're in no man's land, we're inside of this low volume area here, so it depends what happens here, right? So like I said, let me just get the balance thing again, just to put it into context. We are testing the edge of this balance now, right? So let me just delete these brush marks so you guys can see. So if we get rejected here, right, and basically the price starts consolidating here, we try to get lower but we get rejected here, that's a good sign, right? That's an entry for a long. I do think that we break above this yearly VWAP and we go and test at least this midpoint here, perhaps even 45k, right? However, if the price does not get rejected here, in fact gets below like this, and then on an attempt to get higher confirms that this is indeed resistance, well, in that case then we're going to go much lower, and I'll be looking at the edge of this parallel channel here, 37,500, something like that, maybe even a little bit lower, it depends, right? You can see that there's a low volume area here, right, that has perfect confluence with the bottom of this range, okay, of this parallel channel. So that's basically my second target. All right, so I'm not in any trades right now, obviously, because I've just come back from a family holiday. I've literally just turned on the computer, so but this is basically what I'm saying at first, from just from looking at the computer right now in the last sort of like 10 minutes or so, or 20 minutes or so. That's what I'm seeing. I will do a more in-depth technical analysis update for Bitcoin on Monday. But for now, I think that's all I've got on Bitcoin, because I don't want to be just repeating the same thing again, right? Get above $41,000, that's bullish. If we bounce here around about 39,900, then that's kind of a good sign, okay? A first good sign. But of course, we could just be rotating inside here, right? So we'll have to wait and see what breaks first. We're kind of like right in the line in the sand here. If we break below 39,500, then I think we're going to go much lower, right? Especially if we find acceptance there. And acceptance looks like a 4-hour candle that got rejected up there. So that means we go lower, right? And acceptance above $41,000, that means that we've got a strong chance to take this $43,000 level, and perhaps even as high as $45,000 on this low volume node here. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying on Bitcoin right now. So I guess we better move on to Ethereum. And looking at Ethereum here on the daily chart, we're still inside the balance. So this yellow area, let me just mute the view app a second. So on this balance area, you can see that basically last month we traveled the whole way, right? So we were, let me just recap this, okay? We tried to get acceptance back inside of this yellow range here, if you like. This is a high volume cluster here, so let's call it a balance area. We tried to find acceptance inside the balance, we couldn't, we got rejected, okay? Here we found a little bit of support at these levels here. We tried to take that again, and we couldn't find quite the acceptance. However, we did get rejected right here of the previous balance, of the green balance. When we did that, we got confirmed, and as soon as it entered a new balance area, it traveled all the way to the other side, okay? As soon as it got to the other side of the balance, it peaked above, right? And we tested the area there, the imbalance, if you like, and it got rejected. Very strong rejection, right? So now it came all the way back down to the other side of balance. So it's essentially, we're just kind of trading inside of this range here, right? So between 2,900 and 3,600, okay? So right now we're going to be testing this low area here, okay? This low volume area here. If we, however, get down here and we bounce, then again, like I said, we're just kind of rotational inside between, 2,900 and 3,600, okay? However, if we, get so I have to stop saying however, let me get it out of my system. If we find acceptance below, if we fall out of this balance, right, and we find acceptance, which is a 4-hour candle close or a daily close below this level, below 2,800, then Ethereum is in trouble. And that means that this level here will now be resistance, okay? Meaning that the entry for a short will be on a failed attempt to get back inside of this balance above, right? So we need to see confirmation of this. And confirmation of this is not just a test of this area, okay? Because we could literally just come here, test this, and get rejected and back above, right? And you'll get caught with your pants down in that short. So you don't want to do that. You want to wait for confirmation, right? And confirmation will look something like this. We're back inside of this range below 2,800, right? And when it comes to test this previous balance, the orange area, right? Or even the edge of this at 2,800, if it gets confirmed that this is resistance, if we get a rejection here, that's the entry for a short, and we'll be targeting first $2,500 and potentially $2,300. Okay, and that's basically how I see this playing out. Okay, you can see that 2,500 is a pretty decent level. That's where we've bounced here. Okay, on these two attempts we bounced there, and again because it's a big round number, 2,500, and also because we've got a low volume area there. All right, so there's unwillingness to participate at those levels, and so basically the buyer stepped in there. So again, this is the line in the sand here, around about $2,800, and if we find acceptance below, that's bearish. If we find that that's got a rejection there and we break back above 2,900, then that's a long trade, okay? Because if we find acceptance inside a balance, usually what tends to happen is what happened here. We travel the whole side, the whole balance area, okay, to visit the other side. Okay, so that's basically what we want to see. The trigger for a long here is basically what I've just drawn there. Okay, it's a rejection down here, straight back inside of this 2,900 level. Okay, and then confirming this area as support. All right, so that this area here is a rejection, and now it confirmed this as support, and the price moves up from there. Okay, if the price moves up, that's an entry for a long, and I'll be targeting $3,500, I guess. 3,600 is the more accurate level, but you know what I mean, right? So I think that's pretty clear on Ethereum USD of what I'm trying to explain here, right? We're rotational but inside of these two levels here. We could just kind of like be tethering on the edge here and kind of rotating and consolidating on the edge of this. The signal for a long would be a sharp wick to the downside to take out the stops, and then find acceptance back inside of here. Okay, back inside of the above 2,900. That's an entry for a long. However, the entry for a short is we get back inside of this, test the edge here, and confirm that this is now resistance. Okay, then I think the prices will go much lower. All right, so that's what I've got here on Ethereum USD. Let's have a look at Exocharts and see if I can spot anything significant on Exocharts. Well, Ethereum didn't really have the strength to come and take out that naked point of control at 3,250 on this bounce. Okay, so let me just delete this view app here. This is not necessary there. We've got a naked point of control here at around about $2,900. Okay, which is basically that edge of the balance. And 2,900, 2,800, there's a low volume area here. So 2,900, 2,800, I think, is the next areas of interest for Ethereum. Okay, especially if Bitcoin is going down as I predicted, right? However, if Bitcoin does break above 41k, then I think it will drag Ethereum up with it, and we'll be looking at 3,250 here, which is this naked point of control, and also 3,450, which is another naked point of control above here. Okay, and I think this will be the final destination because there's going to be plenty of supply up here. Everybody that went long at the top here will be trapped. There's a few people that went long here as well, so they'll be trapped and they'll be wanting to get out at break even. So this will be resistance, and this will be resistance as well, okay? Not to mention that we've got a massive black hole here, a low volume area that will be considerable resistance, which is basically the edge of that balance that I showed you on the candlestick charts here, okay? So that's basically this area here, right? 3,600 low volume area, right? So that's on the volume profile. And if I look at the market profile, TPO charts just for a second, we've come very close here to take this naked point of control at 2,900, but we didn't, which is a little bit of a worry. I think we've got room to move lower, okay? And then you can see that we've got a naked point of control at 2,800, and also many more below. Okay, we've got plenty of anomalies here all the way down to 2,300. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if Bitcoin does dump and finds acceptance below $39,000, 39,500. I think it said. Yeah, I think I said 39,500. So if it gets acceptance below there, I wouldn't be surprised to see all of these levels taken out on Ethereum, really. And I'll be looking at 2,500 as the potential bounce here, which is also a composite value area low here. But yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves, all right? So let me just change this volume settings here. We're looking at the month, so we just do 5 months here. I'm looking at this composite volume here on the right. Hopefully that'll come up. Here we go. Okay, so this low volume area here, 2,850, is basically the line in the sand. Okay, find acceptance below that, and I think we find ourselves all the way back down to 2,500. Again, exactly the same thing that I showed you on the candlestick charts, and I'm looking at these volume areas as areas of interest. Okay, something like that. All right, so obviously where we are right now, we're rotational inside of this one, as you can see here, right? Resistance, support, resistance. Will it come and test support now? 2,850. Okay, so not that difficult to interpret these TPO charts. It's very much the same thing, but we are on the no trade area, no trade zone for me, because we are right at around about $3,000, which is a big level, and it's also the point of control, as you can see here highlighted with this orange line. Okay, so in this area I'm really not interested in taking profit in taking trades. I'll be waiting for the extremes. So if the price comes down here, I'll be looking for a long scalp. If the price however rallies and gets all the way up here above 3,150, then I'll be looking for shorts, perhaps even a little bit higher here, right? So we'll have to wait and see. That's all I've got on Ethereum USD. There's not really much to be said, much more to be said here. This is the session, independent sessions. We took out that naked point of control to the dollar, right, 2,936, and now we're just kind of rotational, and we've got some single prints at $3,100. Okay, so again, this is like the $41,000 level on Bitcoin, right? If we break above 3,100, then I think we've got a strong chance to go much higher to 3,600. But until then, this here is resistance. Okay, so that's Ethereum versus USD. So let's move on to Ethereum BTC, because this is going to be a very long technical analysis update at this rate. Quick drink of water. Right, so anyway, if you guys remember, I looked at this trend line here that's been here since July 2021. We had a little small deviation there, we rallied, okay? Here we bounced from it, here we had a small deviation to the downside. I said this is perhaps the best opportunity to buy Ethereum right now versus Bitcoin, and indeed it was, and Ethereum did outperform Bitcoin for most of this period from March up until now. But now we're starting to see a slight change in market structure. As you can see here, we're kind of just like going a little bit sideways, which is showing a little bit. It's not showing weakness yet because we didn't break that market structure as such, but it's showing a little bit of weakness here on the daily. All right, so what am I seeing? I'm seeing now Ethereum wants to stay above that 72,000 sats area. Okay, even if we come all the way down here and we bounce here, okay, there's a slight break in market structure, but it's no big deal, right? This is previous resistance, resistance, resistance again, resistance until we broke above it. So if we come here, this could be just an SR flip, support resistance flip, right? So this here was previous resistance, and now it should act as support. All right, so that's why I've got that line there, and also you can see that it's a low volume area there. All right, so I expect this level here, 72,000 sats, to act as support, even on a Bitcoin dump. All right, so Ethereum is holding quite well, really, in comparison. As you can see here, we're starting to see a little of up movement here. So 72,000 sats is support. Resistance really is this level here, right? 79,000 sats. The reason for that, I'm going to put the VWAP as well. The reason for that is because it's the edge of a high volume cluster. And you can see here, basically, this is the high volume cluster here, right? And this is right on the edge there. And you can see that previously it acted as resistance, okay? And there's probably quite a few buyers trapped there. So I do think that at this level we're going to find significant resistance. But we haven't traveled the whole distance. You can see that this high volume cluster here. It's been highlighted with this blue area, right? This blue rectangle. I know there's quite a few lines there. Let me just take the VWAP off again so you guys don't get confused. Right, so I'm not sure why it's not showing as perhaps on the weekly. Is it on the weekly? No. All right. Anyway, this blue area here that you see on the chart is basically this high volume cluster here. Okay, so this is a big balance area. right? And we're still kind of rotational inside of that, right? So we haven't tested the edge, the upper edge of this balance area. And I think that this is potentially, on Ethereum versus BTC, this is potentially where we're going next. Okay? So Ethereum's looking a little bit stronger than Bitcoin, without a shadow of a doubt, right? So bear that in mind. In the meantime, like I said, we could see a little pullback here, and even if it comes to $72,000, that should act as support, right? Where do I see weakness in Ethereum, like severe weakness, is basically breaking below this 72K, right? So if we break below the 72,000 sats here, that means we fall back inside of this range here, the lower range, if you like, of this volume cluster, and that means that we're going to go and test lower prices, okay? Well, definitely test this trend line, but potentially even go lower to this low volume area at 65,000 sats, right? So that's what I see happening if we do break below this support at 72,000 sats. However, like I said, none of that seems to be on the cards right now, okay? The price is moving up, okay? So this was support. We just, we're going up from there. So let's just see what happens. Okay, I think that the most likely case scenario is that we actually go up on Ethereum versus BTC and we come and test 79,000, potentially even 80,000 sats here on Ethereum versus BTC. Okay, once we get there, that's definitely an entry for a short, and I expect weakness starting to form here on Ethereum because this is untapped resistance. Okay, so support, 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 and it's not been tested yet as resistance, so that's a high probability trade, okay, regardless of the fundamental analysis, or because there's like a merge happening or whatever, right? So I know that you guys like to look at fundamentals, and I think some people do quite well with that, but I'm just a chart guy. I just look at technical analysis. So this is previous resistance here. Okay, we tried to break above it. It did act as support for a couple of times, but then we got rejected there, and it's not been tested yet as resistance again. So for me, this is a strong area of resistance, and I do expect the price to reject there at first tap. Okay, of course, if the price comes all the way up here and starts kind of like doesn't get a strong rejection, it starts consolidating right on the edge of that, that's very, very bullish, and I do expect the price to rally up and perhaps come and test this one at 88,000 sats. But that's too soon to say that. I don't want to be going into sort of like 3-month predictions just yet. I'll have another TA update for you guys on Monday, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, I think that we're going to be rotational in between these two levels here, okay? And I think that we're on our way up before we go down. All right, so that's Ethereum BTC for now. So let's move on finally onto the DeFi coins. So FODL versus USDT. I haven't looked at this for quite some time, so I'm going to put the volume candles here if I can. Volume candle. Well, just this one. Okay, so very strong sell there. Again, I don't like the OkEx chart because it's got all these wicks and these massive wicks that used to be accumulation. You can see here there was plenty of accumulation going on there, but these are just fat fingers or lack of liquidity and slippage, if you like, on this particular exchange. Okay, so there was a significant high volume there, high sell volume, massive actually, since its inception. So that's quite an unusual unusual sell volume here from OkEx. So I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to do a little bit of research on this. I'll probably get back with an answer on Monday for you guys, but I'll have another look at that over the weekend. For now, wow, and now look at this. What's going on here? Massive green candle here. So somebody, sushiswap, this is I'll have to ask the devs what happened here and the people that are more in tune with FODL to see what happened there. But you can see here a significant buy here on sushiswap with a massive candle to the upside with a very strong rejection straight back into the range again. So this is unusual, and I'm pretty sure it's just an anomaly. I don't know if somebody just decided to dump a load and triggered some stops, or I don't know what happened there. So I'll have to ask the powers that be. But yeah, massive wick here. Of course, it got stopped around about where I had this rectangle here, which is basically resistance, right? This red rectangle, around about 25 cents. Okay, so we got rejected there, came all the way back down through this low volume area here, and we're back inside the range that we've been trading for quite some time, okay, since the beginning of March, right? So I've got a yellow line here because this is temporary support. I'm not entirely sure if it's strong support or not because it's high, well, pretty much untested yet. You can see that this is resistance, the price rallied above, confirmed this as support, but then it fell back inside and confirmed it as resistance. We've broke above now, and we haven't confirmed this as support. So we'll have to have a look and see if 15 cents will hold as support. Right now, at the moment, what I see is that 16 cents is definitely resistance, and I can see that 14 cents is definitely support. So we either going to be ranging like this, and that 15-cent level is irrelevant, or we could be doing, just bear with me a second, or we could be doing something like this, just ranging inside of here, okay, and filling out this low volume area, somewhere between 15 and 16 cents. All right, so we'll have to wait and see. Ideally, we want to see this level act as support, okay, which is previous resistance. I'd like to see this level here act as support and just rotate in the higher range, if you like, okay. If we break, if Bitcoin decides to have a dump, then I wouldn't be surprised to see all of these altcoins get dragged down. It's really important that you guys remember, especially you guys that are like new to the group. It's important that you guys remember that Bitcoin is the barometer, okay? So it doesn't matter how much TA I do on all of these coins. If Bitcoin is dumping, everything else will dump with it, with very few exceptions. If Bitcoin's pumping, some will pump, some will not. Some will only pump when Bitcoin pumps and then goes sideways, and so on. So we haven't really seen alt season since the summer last year. So, anything can happen. But at the moment, as it looks like Bitcoin wants to reach lower, I would expect most of these coins to go lower as well, okay? So just bear that in mind, all right? So this is FODL versus USDC. So I expect the price to oscillate between 15 cents and 16 cents, okay, roughly, which is about 15.20 to 16.20 as well, okay? So 15 and 16 cents. If we break below, then I expect this level to act as support. This is previous support here. We rated the lows, but we bounced. And previous support here, rated the lows and we bounced. Okay, so previous support here. So I do expect the price to find support at this level here. All right, so if it goes below that, then we're basically at all-time lows, because even though there's this massive candle here, this was just the first listing, if you like, so there's no historical price action, and as such there's no points of reference. If we break below this level here at 14 cents, then I think we need to start looking at 13, 12, 11, 10 cents as a big one, okay, as levels of support, because we tend to gravitate towards big round numbers, okay. So we'll be looking at these two ranges, which is why I've got them highlighted, 5 cents and 10 cents, okay. But like I said, for now, I think 15 cents should act as support, 16 cents as resistance. If we break above it, then this level here should act as significant resistance at 20 cents as well, okay. It would be nice to find the price rotating inside of here. I know that there's some big news coming on FODL very, very soon, especially, I can't tell you because it's, I've been told not to say anything, but there's some big things coming, especially for traders. It's going to be a lot easier to trade, and that's all I'm going to say. So yeah, I do expect the price to rally up. There's also a couple of tweets from somebody. If you look at the tweet in the group, that you'll see that there's a couple of tweets from a guy called I believe is Ari Feldman, which is the CIO of a big company, and they're buying at these levels. So that, I don't want to say too much, sorry. I'll move on with the technical. I'll just stick to what I know. I'll just stick to the technical analysis updates. But I know that there's big things coming for FODL, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this come up. Either way, if it does break above 16, I think 20 cents is definitely a significant level of resistance, and we'll probably find a little bit of rotation before we break above, if indeed we find bullish price action. Moving on to FODL versus ETH. Wow, this is visible in all charts. Interesting. So again, this is on sushiswap, and we tested this kind of point of control. We found resistance there, and we fell all the way back down. But we did break above these previous levels of resistance here. So I'm going to change the color of these levels here as support now. And let me just move them on like this. And it does look like this level here wants to act as support as well, right? So on FODL versus ETH, what do I see? This is a previous level of support here. Okay, once we broke below it, it becomes resistance, right? This doesn't count because this is just a illiquid move, if you like. We didn't close above it. So for me, this is still resistance, okay? And this level here has been acting as support, right? This previous level here. So for me, this was previous resistance, now it's turned to support. So I think that we probably rotate here like this. All right, so somewhere between 520,000 way and 554,000 way. All right, so this is what I expect here. This is support and this is resistance, and we just kind of like travel sideways here, okay, unless something crazy happens. If we break to either side, then this is, for example, if we break up, this will be the next level of resistance at 611. And if we break below, then these levels will be tested, okay? And I expect these levels to act as support, as you can see, previous resistance and quite a lot of consolidation there. So I do expect these levels to act as support in the meantime, okay? But it does look like the price wants to move up despite the negative price action on Bitcoin. So who knows, right? Who knows what can happen? I know that there's big things coming for FODL, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this rotating here for a little while, some accumulation, and then boom, the price goes up. Okay, so let's just wait and see. Again, that great big green candle, I'm gonna have to find out. I'm curious about this now. I'm gonna have to find out what that means and why this happened, this anomaly. But anyway, let's not waste any more time. I hope that everybody's clear on the FODL trades here. This is support and this is resistance. Okay, so let's move on to Binance coin, Binance versus USD. So we are rotational inside of this high volume cluster here. Okay. So for the time being, 444 is resistance and 400 is support. Okay, break below 400, 390 is the next level of support, and that's kind of the line in the sand, because if we break below that, I think we go to the next one, which is around about $360, and that means that we'll be back trapped inside of this range here. Okay, so you can see basically this, right? So that's basically what I'm seeing right now. I expect these levels here to act as support. That's an edge of a high volume cluster, a low volume node there, and I expect the price to just be kind of rotational here, right? Depending if Bitcoin has a massive dump, because this kind of tends to sort of be in tandem with Bitcoin as well, right? So we'll wait and see, but 400 is a big round number, so I expect that to act as support, and $444, $450 as resistance, and so we just kind of like trade sideways here, like that, inside of this big range. All right, so that's what I'm seeing on Binance versus BTC, Binance versus USD. So let's have a look at Binance versus BTC. This is interesting. So we had a massive range here, right? Massive range, and we tested resistance. There was a very small rejection there, so it's not significant rejection. We didn't even test the halfway mark, the equilibrium, and we broke above it, and now we tried to find acceptance back inside of this range, and it got rejected, right? So interestingly, this level now, as far as I can tell, is support. Okay, so the next level of resistance is around about 10,589 sats. Okay, so right now what we want to see is the price rotating inside of this little range here. So basically doing something like this. Okay, depending on what happens, I don't know if there's anything going on with Binance. I mean, it's not visible on the Binance USD, but it's definitely seen on the Binance versus BTC chart, which basically means Bitcoin is dumping and Binance is not. So hence why we're seeing this. So strong support here around about 10,000 sats, 10,100 sats, and this should be significant resistance here at 10,580. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little rectangle. It's probably a little bit easier, isn't it? I'm going to change that to blue, like that. And that's basically where we're going to be trading. Okay, so 10,100 sats as support, 10,500 sats as resistance. Okay, and so the price moves sideways like this. Okay, break above that. If we break above this here, okay, then I think we've got room to go at least to this next level here, right? Perhaps even this one, right? Around about 11,800, 12,000 sats. Okay, so that will be the next level, the next sort of balance area, if you like. I'd probably go as far as that, actually. Okay, so if we break above this one here and we find acceptance, let me just get rid of these brush marks, start again. So I'm expecting the price to be rotational inside of this. However, if the price breaks above this and finds support here, confirms that this is indeed support now, I'll be looking for longs on the rejection of this lower balance. Okay, so I'll be looking for longs, and I'll be targeting this area up here. Okay, so but again, confirmation of that is basically a breakout away from this lower balance area, and then confirmation that this is indeed now support. Okay, but it is resistance until proven otherwise, and that's basically how it works. Okay, it's resistance until it isn't. Okay, so resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, and support. Okay, if it comes up to up here and breaks it above, for me that could be just a small deviation, and the entry for a short signal is if we fall back inside of the range. If we don't fall back inside of the range, if in fact it comes here and finds that this is support, then of course that's an imbalance is acting as support, and this is acceptance inside of this massive range here. Okay, so then it'll be targeting these levels up here. Okay, I hope that is clear, and I'll have more on this on Monday for you guys. So Binance versus ETH. Let me just move back up to this. So interestingly enough, this is a deviation of the previous balance area, right? Deviation, we've rallied above, came back and tested that, and look at that, there's a little rejection there. As you can see, there's a wick right here, as you can see that. So that's basically what I've been trying to illustrate to you guys. Okay, so would I enter along here? No, not when it breaks inside of the balance. I'll wait for it to confirm that indeed this previous level is going to be support, right, and rejected there. When it gets that rejection, that's the entry for the long, and here we are now. Okay, so at the moment it looks like it's on its way up to around about this level, around about 0.14 ETH. Okay, so let me just make this a little bit bigger, like that, and we are going to be rotational inside of this level here. Okay, which is essentially, as you can see here, it's this big high volume cluster. Alright, so that's basically what I'm saying. I'm seeing this level here now as resistance, and this level here as support. Okay, so I hope that makes it clear for you guys. Okay, at these levels here we buy, at those levels there we sell, or at least take profit. Okay, so that's Binance versus ETH. Moving on to AAVE versus USD. I'm going to delete all of these squiggly lines. So this area is now resistance, and this area here is support. So I expect the price to be going lower here, find support at this low volume node, and just kind of rotate like this. Okay, I don't think it's going to happen over the weekend that it visits both sides, but as you can see, what I'm trying to illustrate here is that we're in the middle of nowhere, right? We're not at support and we're not at resistance. So for me, this is a no trade zone. If you are in a trade, if you're in a short, well done. I'll be taking profits at these levels down here, right? Around about $159. If you're waiting to enter long, then I'd wait for that $160 level, okay? If, however, we bounce here, we go straight back up to resistance, then I'll be looking at $192, $193 as the next level to short, okay? So it's basically doing this, what we see here. Sell at the top, buy at the bottom, and then we'll just be trading sideways like that. If we lose either of these levels, then we go on to the next one, right? So this is the next level of resistance, and this is the next level of support. Moving on to AAVE versus BTC. Again, they're very much the same thing, right? So we found resistance here. We found acceptance back inside of this high volume cluster. I'm going to move this level slightly lower because I am looking at this low volume area here, low volume node. And you can see, in fact, resistance, 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 right? So I am looking at this level here to act as support. All right, so right now it doesn't look like it wants to stay inside of this. Okay, so the gray candle, the white candles are low candles going down, the gray candles going up. In fact, I could change that. Maybe that will make it easier. Template, let's have a look. There we go. Okay, so you can see we've got a green candle here. It's trying to break out of this range. Okay, it doesn't want to be inside of this range. So for now, I do still think that this level here is resistance, and this is major support, and this level here in the middle is definitely a take profit and perhaps support as well, because we've bounced there, right? Resistance, resistance here, resistance, and then when the price came back down, it bounced there. So this is definitely support. Is it significant? Well, it's in the middle of a high volume cluster, so yes and no. All right, so basically if we break above it, we could be doing this constructive price action, right? If we break above this gray area that you see here in the middle, if we break back below it again, right, if this is a rejection here, this could be a good entry for a short, and we'll be targeting this level down here and potentially even lower down here. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see. At the moment, it does look like it wants to break above it, but it's getting rejected. There's a wick there, so I think this is actually a good opportunity to go short. But yeah, this is a poor low here, so I do think that there's a good opportunity here to go short. The invalidation is above just this wick, today's wick, right, at around about 4464. Yeah, and I'll be looking for a short here. I think I'd like to see confirmation of that, but I'll be looking at something like this, and I'll perhaps take profit here. This is still a 3.5 trade, and ultimately this is a 7-hour trade. This is a big trade, actually. I might put a trade on, but yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to go short here, especially if we find acceptance back inside of this range. We've already been inside of the range. It tried to get above, it got rejected, and now we're testing the edge of it. Okay, so for me, this is a good, decent entry for a short, and I'm quite happy to have a very tight stop here, just above today's wick, risking like 2% to make potentially 19%. Okay, but do bear in mind that you should take most of the profit if you are entering a short. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do not take trades based on what I'm saying. This is what I would do. I'm just here for educational and entertainment purposes. But if you do take a trade, please do take majority of the profit round about here, okay, because this has already acted as support once. It'll probably act as support another couple of times. but ultimately that's the trade I'd be looking for. All right, so let's see. At the moment it looks like it's pumping. Look, it looks like it wants to get above. We'll wait and see. This is a good opportunity for a short, in my personal opinion. We'll have a look. In fact, I'll put a little scribble here. In fact, I'll do this like that. Okay, and I'll leave this and we'll have a look at it on Monday and see how it did, how it played out. So that's what I'm seeing right now. Okay, so this level here is support, these levels here are resistance. Okay, and this level, the edge of that level, I'm going to put it as orange because at the moment it's not being respected. In fact, I'll delete it right now. Okay, so that's AAVE versus BTC. AAVE versus ETH. We are bouncing on previous support right now. We didn't quite make it to resistance there. Let me just delete some of these scribbles. Right, and this is basically what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the price to just kind of rotate between these two levels. If we break below it, then we should have a little level of support down here. In fact, I think I'm going to make it a little bit lower, around about here. And that's just because that's the edge of the high volume cluster there. And that's where price kind of bounced before. Okay, so in fact you can see it here where the price bounces in that low volume area. Okay, so again, like I explained before, this here is another balance area here. So it depends if we find acceptance below there. Okay, if we find acceptance below inside of this blue range here and confirm that this is indeed support, that's a good opportunity for a short, and I will be targeting much lower prices down here. Okay, and in fact I'm going to ignore this level here because it seems out of context. Okay, if we bounce here and indeed this is support, I think this is the range that we'll be trying to trade for now. Okay, so this is resistance and this is support until proven otherwise. Break below and confirm this is resistance now, then we go and target this level here. If we break above this range, then this will be the next level of resistance. So moving on to compound versus USD. Wow, there's a bit of a mess there with all the scribbles, so let me just delete all of that. And oh god, that scribble there. Right, so I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna put a little range there for now. Fixed range volume profile for this particular one. Alright, so I don't know if you've seen what I've done there. This is a little bit of a tip there. Here on the side pane, you've got a fixed range volume profile. That's a free range. So even if you haven't got like a paid subscription to TradingView, then you can still get the volume profile this way. Okay, so fixed range volume profile, and then you click on that, and then you just click from on this axis here, on the time axis, from the left to the right. So you just go from this range here to whatever range you want. Okay, so basically it doesn't matter where you want, but I usually put it to the most recent price action, and that basically highlights it there. So you can see right now that the price is just rotating in between the highlighted area here, the lighter gray area, if you like. So this is the value area high, this is the value area low, and this here is the point of control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this level of support down to the point of control. Okay, so I do expect the price to be, let me just get another one. I'm going to get this one here. We'll put another one here. Just because you saw that was previous resistance, and then it confirmed it as support, and it's also the edge of that volume cluster, right? So the value area low, if you like. So let where I expect the price to rotate from, that's a very strong rejection there. Okay, so this continues to be resistance, and this should be support. Okay, the point of control, right? So I do expect the price to come all the way back down here to around about $121. Okay, what will happen there, I'm not entirely sure. There was a little bit of consolidation here, and this is a breaker, right? So this red candle here is basically, we visited the lows, but then the price broke straight back above it very, very quickly. So you could argue that this is a breaker. There's also a low volume node there. So if this is a bullish breaker, then the price will bounce here. But if Bitcoin continues to dump, then I do expect the price to come all the way down here to the point of control, and potentially even lower to that value area low here at $113. Okay, below that there's $100 or $101 if you like, and that is definitely supports there. Big round number as well. $143, $150. It's not surprising that you see the price getting rejected there. As you can see, here's a low volume area, and it's also a big round number, $150, right? So again, everybody that took longs from down here will be taking profits at $150. It's just the way it is, right? So somewhere between $120 and $143 is the range that I'm looking at right now. Okay, so I expect the price to do something like this, and that is a really crap line. But doing something like that. Okay, that's basically what I'm expecting to see right now on compound versus US dollars. Okay, that's resistance and that's support. At the moment we're kind of already too late to take a short on this, because potentially it could bounce here on this breaker, so I'm not interested in trades here. So even if it goes back up again, then I still expect this level to act as resistance. Okay, and if it breaks above that, then I think, you know, $150 is right there as well. I just don't see it happening. So for me, that's resistance until proven otherwise. There's not much of an edge in trying to take longs from this breaker, in my opinion. Okay, because it's too close to the invalidation, right? I'd rather take a short from up here if we do get up here, right? Short from up here, and down here I'll be interested in longs, and that's basically it. Okay, and I'll probably divide this into two orders. I'll put one order here, and I'll put another order down here as well, just in case it decides to go to the value area low. So that's my personal opinion. Moving on to compound versus BTC. Again, let's just delete all of these scribbles. I'm going to delete this range here. So we did, whilst I was on holidays, we did break above this, and then we got rejected again. This level of support didn't act as support at all. This one did, however, so I'll move this one up a little bit. And then this level here was just completely ignored, really. So I might just delete that, because that's proving pretty insignificant and useless. So in my opinion, in my personal opinion, if I was to put the VPVR on again, right, this is the low volume area. This is basically where we've struggled to get back above. This balance area here is what we're looking at. Well, you could argue that it's this one, but actually it's a low volume area. That's why I had the line there. But yeah, where are we going with this? Okay, I'm going to bet that well, I'm not going to bet. This is resistance here, this is support here. There's no two ways about it. Okay, this could potentially be resistance here, even though it's been ignored, largely ignored, but it is the edge of that balance. In fact, do you know what, I'm going to delete that. I'm just going to delete that because it's been largely ignored, so there's no point of it being there. Okay, we are rotational between these two levels. Okay, so basically between these two levels here, and that's basically all it needs to know. At these levels you go short, at these levels you go long. It's as simple as that. That's the range right there. Okay, there's not, you know, it doesn't have to be complicated. So that's basically it. At these levels you go short, at these levels you go long. Okay, there is a low volume node there, so we could potentially get a little bounce there, but I don't know. I think this level is a little bit more accurate, especially as it has confluence with these previous levels of resistance. So that's Compound versus BTC. Compound versus ETH. Again, I'm going to delete all of those scribbles that I left last month. Strong rejection there. Okay, so this level here, which is previous resistance, highlighted in red, I'm going to make them green. So this could potentially be a level of support here, which is basically a low volume area here, right? So we could just be rotational inside of here. If we break below this level, then we're going to be rotational inside of this level here. Okay, so I'm actually going to take this level out and make this a little bit more simple. So if we break below this level here, right, this green area here, that's basically means that we're going to go and revisit this level down here. Okay, which is, you know, it could happen if Bitcoin decides to have a dump. So, but this is Compound versus ETH. So it depends on the strength of ETH and it depends on the strength of Bitcoin. So for the time being, I think if everything is balanced, we just go sideways and we just kind of consolidate here. However, break below that, and I think this is the next level of support. And if we break above it, then this is the next level of resistance. Okay, let's make it a little bit more accurate. In fact, I will move it to round about here. Which is basically that low volume node there. Okay, we've found resistance there on that low volume node there. So on the edge there. Okay, that's more accurate now. Right, so basically just rotating between these two levels for now. All right, that's Compound versus ETH. Let's look at BAT versus USD. This should be interesting. God damn, I keep doing the same mistake again. Okay, so you can see that this level here is now indeed resistance, around about 78.80 cents. So I think the next level of support is 63 cents. Okay, so at the moment this is resistance and this should be support. So we'll probably do something like this. Okay, rotate inside of this cluster, break above that, and I think we've got a strong chance to find a little bit of support here and rotate inside of that there, right? Break below that, and I think we're going to go much lower and we'll be rotating inside of there between 50 cents and 62 cents. So these are the three ranges that I want you to pay attention to, which all in all is actually one big range, which is why it's highlighted here in gray, right? But you can definitely divide it into three because this is a big volume cluster, as you can see there, right? Let's have a look. Right, big volume cluster there, right? But you can see that there's a low volume area inside of that, and that's basically where we've been bouncing for quite some time, right? So again, ranging inside of there for now. If we break above it, then we can go to the higher side of the range. If we break below it, then we go and test this high volume cluster here, right? So how can I illustrate that better? So right now, that's a range. That's a range. That's a range. Okay, so that's basically it. So 80 cents is resistance, 62 cents is, or 63 cents is support. If we break above it, then the range becomes 89 resistance, 79 support. And if we break below that, 65 cents or 63 cents, it will be 63 as resistance and 50 cents as support. Okay, that's what I'm seeing right now. And it does look like this is a very strong rejection and we are on our way down. okay, to around about 63 cents. We'll have a better look at that on Monday. BAT versus BTC. They're basically still ranging, okay? So this is resistance here. This here is support. So we're just kind of like, just going to do this, continue to do this, and just go inside of that range, okay? Consolidation. That's basically what's going on there. All right, so this is resistance, and this is support. All right, and we just kind of rotate inside of this range until proven otherwise. Break below it, this is the next one. Break above it, this is the next one. Moving on to BAT versus ETH. BAT versus ETH, I'm going to delete those scribbles as well. Oh, thank you. My girlfriend just brought me some coffee. She's lovely. Thank you, darling. So here we are. This was previous resistance, is now support. So this level here should act as support, and this level here should act as resistance. So this is effectively the range, right? If we break below that, then this here will be the range. If we break above that, then potentially this is the range here. Okay, we'll have to wait and see. This is not quite accurate. I'm going to change that. I'm going to make this there like this as the next level of resistance. Okay, purely because this is the low volume area there. Okay, this is the edge of a high volume cluster there, and this one is pretty accurate there. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at right now. Lower range, higher range, and then there's a very, very tight range here that I'm not really interested in trading. I'd be looking at this one, realistic terms. Okay, I'd be looking at this as a range instead. Okay, so that's BAT versus ETH. At the moment there is a rejection from this higher cluster, so it depends if we get confirmed this can confirm this line here as support. If we can confirm that as support, then we go up. If we get back below it again, then I think that this here will be the next target. Moving on to Link versus USD. Let me delete some of this. Delete some of this mess. So Link has lost quite a few levels whilst I've been away. So let me just correct this. This is now red as resistance, and so is this one. This should be red as resistance. Okay, so it does look like we are on our way to this level. Okay, so rotational in between 11 cents and $11.50 and $13.80. Okay, so that's resistance and that's support until proven otherwise. Break above it, and I think this is the next level of resistance. Break below it, and the next level should be $10. Because $10 is a big round number. I'm not sure why I haven't got that highlighted, but I'm going to fix that right now. $10 there. Okay. In terms of volume, actually, it doesn't look like, oh yeah, it's the edge of that volume cluster there. Yeah, so it's very clear that this is a previous range. We've just got rejected from that range, so it depends if we're going to bounce like we did here, but ultimately if Bitcoin is dumping, I think that we've got room, plenty of room to come all the way to these levels here, $11.50. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing right now on Link versus USD. Link versus BTC. Chainlink versus BTC. Obviously, because BTC is dumping and Link is not, we can see a little bit of a green candle there. But we are essentially at support, okay? So we are going to be rotating. There's a big candle there as well, like that. But again, big fat finger or a large liquid candle. I'm not sure what happened there. Was that nothing really significant. In my opinion, we do something like this. We could even break a little bit higher and go like this, but we are essentially inside of this volume cluster here. Okay, so this is the range here, and it is kind of slightly divided here with the previous level of support that got broken, resistance. I'm not sure. I don't like that level. I think we simplify it like this. Okay, so this is support and this is resistance, and I think we trade this way for now. Okay, it's very close to support, so I think you could, potentially this is Chainlink versus Bitcoin. If Bitcoin continues dumping and Link doesn't, then Link Marines might hold the price, and that means that this will rally, okay, and maybe we'll go all the way up to here. At this level, there's definitely time to take profit or to go short, but at these levels down here, I'll be looking to go long. Okay, and moving on to Link versus ETH, I'm going to move those brush marks off. Okay, let me just put this on a 3-day range here. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that we are basically trading back inside of that range. So let me just take the VPVR off. You can see here basically that I've put this rectangle. Let me just change the color of that so that we are familiar with the colors. Okay, we're back inside of this range. So we were trading in just above that range. We got rejected there quite a few times. This is previous resistance, and then we broke finally above it. This level here was the definite line in the sand here for resistance terms. As you can see here, we found sellers consistently there for quite some time there, since February, really. So now we've broken back inside of this range. We found support at that green level that I'd highlighted. This here is resistance. If the price does come all the way back to here and finds resistance again, this is an entry for a short, and I'll be looking at this level here as the next level of support. This one here has acted support 3 times now. 1, 2, 3 times there at least, right? So I'm not too keen on that one. Okay, that's not a high probability trade. I'd rather sort of wait and see if the price comes all the way down here. So if I was to enter a short at these highs here, I'd be taking profit here, but then this would be the ultimate target. All right, I hope that is clear. If I'm looking for longs here on Link versus Ethereum, I'll be waiting for the prices to get all the way back down here. Okay, so this is resistance, this is support. This could potentially be support here because it acted as support 3 times now. But the more it gets hit, the weaker it becomes. Okay, so I wouldn't be holding out for that one as support for very, very long. So that's what I'm seeing right now. Moving on to our final DeFi coin, Uni versus USD. So let me just take the brush marks off. So let's have a look at how accurate those price ranges were. So yeah, we didn't even get above there. We lost that one. So we'll put that one as red. delete that one. Okay, so in fact I'm going to delete most of those price ranges. This is resistance and this is support. So if there's going to be any price range, it's going to be between here and here. Okay, that's basically what I'm looking at. The area of rotation should be inside of there. Alright, so again, $8 as support, $9.89 or $10 as resistance. Alright, that's on Uniswap versus US dollar. If Bitcoin decides to have a massive dump, then it is possible that we come and test this level down here around about $7.50, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, I don't think that will happen between now and Monday, but you never know, right? So just be prepared. At this level here, $7.50 is definitely a buy because this is a largely untested level of support. And you can see it's been tested once and the reaction was huge. It was very telling, you know, nice big wick straight away from $7.50 to $9. So I do expect that to act as support. Okay, $7.50. But $8 as well, but $7.50 is a significant one. So that's what I've got here on Uni versus USD, and you can see we're in the middle. So for me, this is a no trade zone. At these levels up here, that's definitely a short. These levels down here is definitely a long. Moving on to Uni versus BTC. Interesting here. So as I was telling you guys earlier on about balance areas, we've got two balance areas. We've got the blue one and we've got the gray one. Okay, these could be seen as big volume areas. And I won't bore you with the details, but just trust me on this. Okay, so we are now trying to see if we can find acceptance inside of this big balance area down here, or if we're going to find acceptance above. Right now, as you can see, we're right in the middle in no man's land, right? We're kind of like in between the two balance areas. So, you know, now it's seeing which way is going to find acceptance first. So what we want to see is price going to rally up here, find support, and then start curling up. This is an entry for a long, and you want to be targeting this level here as resistance, right? And confirming that this area here is indeed support. And so we would rotate inside of this range. However, if price finds acceptance below on this gray range here, that would look something like this. Come back below, come and test that area here, confirm that this is indeed resistance. That's an entry for a short, and then we'll be targeting this level here and this level here as the next areas of support. Okay, so we are kind of in a no man's land here, and this is time to pay attention on Uni versus Bitcoin and just see where we are right now. Okay, there's obviously a little bit of support here, but let's just see, you know, are we getting rejected from the gray area, or are we going to get rejected from the top area? And if so, which one's going to break soon, right? Because something's got to give. So at the moment it's in an imbalance and it's difficult to tell which way it's going to go, right? But there's a good opportunity coming here in the next sort of few days or a few hours. So just bear that in mind, all right? At the moment it looks good because it got rejected from the bottom one, but, you know, lower highs, lower lows means that we're, you know, continuation pushes it lower. So until we find confirmation above here, I think that we're going to go lower. The only thing that changes that is that confirmation above. All right. So moving on to Uni versus ETH, which is the final chart of today. Uni versus ETH, you can see that we've broken level after level, and we are basically at all-time lows here. So it's not looking too clever for Link versus ETH. So this is a decent short. I'm going to put this level here as red as the new level of resistance. And now, because we are at all-time lows, the only thing you can do is look at big round numbers, okay? So there's no previous price action to go from. There's no reference points, basically. So what you want to look at is, let me grab some lines here. Horizontal line at 250. I'll put that as green. I do expect 250 to act as support. and potentially 200 as well. Okay, so if the price does come down from there and confirms that this is indeed now resistance, I expect 250 to act as support, just because psychologically most people tend to gravitate towards big round numbers, and that's how it works, right? So I would expect the price to rotate inside of this range between 300 and 250. However, if we break below 250, the next level will be 200, obviously. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Of course, 325 is also a level of resistance, and if we manage to reclaim that level, then it is possible that we just rotate inside of there. Okay, so again, ranges inside of there, inside of there, and potentially here if we break above as well. Okay, so I hope that is clear. It does look like we've got a strong rejection of this one, so I think that this here is the most likely scenario. But again, if we break back above it, then it'll move on to this one here, or this one here. These are basically the ranges that we would be looking for. So that brings me to the end of my technical analysis for today. I hope that was helpful. I hope it helps you moving on to the weekend and onto the following week. I'll have another TA update for you guys on Monday. But in the meantime, I hope that you guys trade smart and have a great weekend. And I shall speak to you soon. Okay? Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.